No, I'm here through November 6th.
Glad you're here.
Thank you. Hi. I'm actually TK in print, Tim face to face. Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't remember if I met you many years ago when I came over to the house to interview Carrie at the Blade, at the condo. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we have him here. I hope he really feels comfortable and keep thinking about uh, Christmas concert.
Oh, that's right. That's in my email inbox.
Yeah, yeah. Which is basically just going to be if you want to do a solo hour-long show.
Yeah, let's do
That's pretty much
Yeah, if you got a
what
date,
it is. Yeah,
Untitled Chapter.
yeah, yeah. I've got a date someplace, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, shoot it to me and we'll.
Okay, it's we usually do it the Sunday before Christmas, I think. So Christmas being the 25th, it would be the 18th.
No, let me put it on my schedule.
Put that tentative, and I'll double check. Yeah, I think so. I think that's it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah.
Sunday is.
Yeah,
Oh, I got it on there.
yeah. Good.
Well, let me hit.
Yeah. And yeah, it's the 18th. And if you want to bring guests, you're welcome to. Just basically, you get the hour, you give us all the music, and we're basically not doing anything but a brief intro and maybe a brief close. And for me, and everything else is you. On YouTube, probably in the past year, we had two symphony musicians doing that. So if you want to see who it really was, that's a concert. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, we've got worship cast license, which doesn't give us a lot of leeway for anything that's out there. Um, in the past, that was the big choir Sunday. And since we're between music directors and have no choir, it Danskin no longer makes one size like this. Oh, this is Dansco. Comfortable. I can see why medical personnel use them so much. They've got to stand. And that was also one of my cancer things. Is my first one came with a spinal cord injury. Well, the first one was my vertebrae, T4 to T12, I think. There was like a football size tumor, and it compromised the bone and damaged the spine when the back broke. That was the first one. Second one was the femoral and I had to have 3 years. And third was collarbone, which has never healed properly. And fourth, which was found very early, thanks to UTMC having all its doctor problems and losing its so many doctors, and I had to get a new oncologist who said, I don't know you, and all that test to test it in. And they found something at the very top, the C1, C2 vertebrae. Yeah, I've got titanium. Stem cell transplant. My white blood cell count got down to 0. Started again, so with new white blood cells, I'm gonna go sit up here. I think they got a jersey. Minute 30. I think I'm going to leave mask off. Your choice whether to.
Good morning.
Let me get that dough for you. Your arms are more than full. I do not make a career of this. I have a lot of pull. Forgive me, my name's Kerry. It's nice to meet you too. Don't you just love it when strangers meet to help each other through? Yes, you are welcome here. Everyone's welcome here. Yes, you are welcome here. Everyone's welcome here. Now the scientists say one thing, others flatly disagree. Many are those who will never ask which truth should be believed. So the arguments continue in this deafening debate. Open minds seek to understand, looking through the eyes of grace. And yes, you're welcome here. Everyone's welcome here. And yes, you're welcome here. Everyone's welcome here. So it goes with every issue. Some are silenced, set apart. Oh, the question now is when to wide this opening of our hearts. So yes, you are welcome here. Everyone's welcome here. Yes, you are welcome here. Everyone's welcome here. Wherever you are,
We welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you.
Good morning and welcome. These welcoming words are from Amanda Schuber. If this is your first time here or your 101st time, we're glad you are here. If you carry the weight of a weary world on your shoulders, or you entered through the doors with a song in your heart and a skip in your step, we are glad you are here. If you are the loudest voice in the town square or the subtle hand behind the scenes, we are glad you are here. If you have failed once or 1,000 times, we are glad you are here. If you sing like angels or mumble behind the hymnal, we are glad you are here. This community is what it is because of your presence. So welcome. Welcome into this space of love, support, justice, compassion, fellowship, and worship. We are glad you are here. We extend an especially warm welcome to all of you who are visiting today. Please take note of the cards in the hymn rack in front of you. We invite you to complete the yellow card along with your contact information, and we will send you a copy of our weekly e-news with information about services, activities, and ways for you to become involved here at church. Members can also complete this form to let us know how you would like to become more involved here at church. And you're welcome to take the little chalice card home with you. It has lots of valuable contact information on it, and there is also an envelope for donations and pledge payments. And we thank you in advance for your generosity. There are some announcements today. Most of you know that we are between music directors. Until we find a new church musician to join our staff, we'll be having recorded music some Sundays and guest musicians when we can arrange it. Today we have the special joy of welcoming Carrie Patrick Clark, folk singer extraordinaire. When Reverend Tim wrote for The Blade, he met and wrote about Carrie. If you know church musicians who might be possibilities for the Toledo Unitarians music director, please make them aware that we're searching. If you'd like to use an assisted listening device to help with hearing our public address system during the services, we're now broadcasting on FM 90.7, and we have a couple of small radios with headphones available. We're still trying to develop better ways for assisted listening. If you want to try the system out or have suggestions, please let Reverend Tim know. Together Women Rise will meet in our fellowship hall on Monday, tomorrow at 6 p.m. This month's featured organization is Youth Empowerment in Honduras, and the funded project is Girls Leading Change. For more information, contact Susan Spiegel. On Saturday from 1:30 to 3 p.m., our congregation's Awareness of Special Needs group will meet at the home of Joanne Hartaw to share concerns as caregivers or people who themselves have a chronic medical condition, and to have cookies and beverages. Contact Joanne if you would like to attend. And this coming Saturday from 4 to 6, Trunk or Treat will have its annual appearance in our church parking lot. You can put on a costume, decorate your vehicle, and give away candy treats that you bring. This is for anyone, not just church folks. For more information, contact Lauren Getz. And next Sunday, 10/23, there will be a multi-faith Holy Day celebration at the Sanger Branch Library from 3 to 4:30 p.m. This will be an all-ages interactive fair to learn more about the traditions of many faiths, including Diwali, Sukkot, and pagan rituals. This is free and all are invited. And get ready for the upcoming post-Halloween season. On the back of today's order of service, there is an order form for our annual holiday poinsettia sale. And you who are watching online, contact the church office and request an order form. Orders are due by Sunday, November 6th, which is 3 weeks from today. And you'll receive poinsettias and wreaths in time for Christmas.
Thank you, Karen Christie. I do want to point out that our arrangement is a little bit different today. I'm not making any confessions about wondering if the eloquence of the service associates on this side has been better than the eloquence where I was sitting, but any inspiration helps. We've moved our chalice and the singing bowl as well. So we'll see how this arrangement works. Perhaps the profile is better for me. Among the points for meditation today, we keep on our minds, in our hearts, and with our spirits, our new friends, prayerful walkers going from Minneapolis to Washington, D.C., to plea for the release from federal prison of Native American elder Leonard Peltier. The walkers camped at our church this past week, and we wish them a continuing good journey. Still of concern are the people and places recovering from Hurricane Ian, especially those in Cuba, Florida, and the Carolinas, and the people of Puerto Rico after the devastation of Hurricane Fiona. We also hold closely the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We side with the Ukrainians who must fight for their home. And we feel for the Russians wronged by their own government in this attempt at conquest of a neighbor. It's 3 weeks and 2 days till Election Day. Early voting has begun. If you have the right to vote, you the vote, and consider our liberal religious values as you ponder candidates and issues and mark your ballot. And our city is concerned with gun violence and its aftermath, particularly at this time from a shooting at a high school football game a week ago. May the youth have the resources to deal with how this affects them. And may adults not get in the way with false reassurances and bad advice. Let's work for gun control and reform. In our own lives and those of friends and family, and this includes personal chaos, there are health, relations, financial, and other challenges, including celebrating new lives and mourning deaths. One reason we join in religious gatherings is to realize these common links. May we have compassion for all.
The opening words today are from The Essential Transcendentalists, edited by Richard G. Gelderd. New England transcendentalism was spawned by a rebellious nonconformity among its most impassioned adherents. Although these hardy New England seekers were decidedly individual in their pursuits, they possessed in common a firm rejection of traditions, be they religious, social, artistic, or educational. In that respect, They were annoying to the satisfied and preposterous to the merely complacent. It is no wonder, therefore, that in the next century, figures such as Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. found in their tone a vibrant source of inspiration for their own revolutions.
And as Karen lights our chalice, I have these words by the transcendentalist Henry David Thoreau. The light that blinds our eyes is darkness unto us. Not time alone can bring the day on which our hopes are set. Only that light can rise to which we are awake. The sun is but a morning star. There is more day to dawn. Please join me in reciting the covenant of this congregation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The search for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Our opening hymn this morning is number 38, Morning Has Broken. Carrie will play and lead our singing. If you're comfortable standing, please do. If you'd prefer to sit, that's good too.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's dew fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden's soft ray. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Good morning. Today I will be reading words by our religious education. Can you hear me? There we go. So I just want to say that, although I do find her to be a kindred spirit, so I don't mean to slander her. So a lot of us were required to read Walden, the book, in high school. But is there a different way to bring Walden, the experience, to life? Particularly for those among us who are not yet ready to read a high school level book. There is now, Enter Walden, the video game. It's virtual nature. In video game jargon, Walden, the game, would be called a first-person, open-world exploration and survival game. This brings out my nerd. The survival aspect of it does not refer to hordes of zombies or an enemy army. However, this survival is built around real-life requirements: food, shelter, and warmth. You survive by fishing, gathering blackberries, laying in a supply of firewood for the winter. You follow in the footsteps of Thoreau by planting a bean field, pulling weeds, harvesting and cooking the beans. You must build and maintain a wooden cabin. I can see very many late nights playing this game. In between your chores, you explore the sensory world of the game. This is accomplished literally by walking through the woods and examining the natural world. In the summer, you row across the lake, and in the winter, you skate on it. This practice of living life deeply, grabbing nature with both hands, increases your inspiration level. When inspiration is high, you can see the vibrant colors of flowers and greenery on your screen, the glittering pond and the sunny sky. The water burbles, birds sing, and crickets chirp. If you forget to explore nature and fail to appreciate its beauty, your inspiration level decreases. The flowers on the screen become less vibrant, the sounds of the birds and the water more muted. Life becomes less beautiful and more dull. Some might consider this aspect of gameplay to be a fine demonstration of our first principle. And if you do not remember what our first principle is, there is a card in front of you in the pew. It's tempting to say that a video game that imitates nature, or even a game that imitates a book, is a little silly. But how many realistic options exist to recreate the Walden experience? Today, people talk about Thoreau like he's a cross between Davy Crockett and Abraham Lincoln. But in reality, Thoreau was in walking distance of his mother's house. And she and his sisters did his laundry and brought him meals. Behind every literary loner is a small army of women doing invisible support work. In contrast, today, you can play this video game and also clean up after yourself. I highlighted this line for my son. It's also worth noting that Henry David Thoreau set the Walden Woods on fire. That's not a metaphor. One of his campfires got out of hand and burned 300 acres of the forest and came close to burning the town of Concord. As an aside, if you really want to have an opinion of Thoreau, read his writings regarding the fire. Playing a video game carries virtually no risk of destroying a forest. Finally, of course, few of us have the realistic option of withdrawing from our lives and living in a cabin for a year. Is there a fundamental difference between reading Walden, watching a movie about it, and playing it as a video game? Video games are the newest medium, but they're not necessarily worse. They're just new, and they have clearly reached kids in a way that books and movies mostly haven't. Maybe kids just hear a different drummer. Let them march to the music which they hear, however measured and far away. Thank you.
This is supposed to be centering music after the story. In a perfect world, there'd be no black or white, no shadows long, there'd be no darkest night. Just be shades of gray in an endless swirl. That's what it would be like in a perfect world. In a perfect world, there'd be no need for wars or preemptive strikes, for conflicts just a door. From one log was hewn the woodsman burled. It's just for looks in a perfect world, and then we all would celebrate as we stood before this gate. It's so marvelous, just like each one of us. In a perfect world, there'd be no accidents. The happenstances, they'd all make sense. As each dot's connected, a flag's unfurled. That's what it would be like in a perfect world. And in a perfect world, there'd be no need for tears. We'd celebrate our hurts. We'd look in the eyes of fear, and each lesson learned is like a wisdom's pearl. And we'd string them up in a perfect world. And we all take a stand as we stood before these strands. Take your breath away. There's nothing else to say. In a perfect world, there'd be no need for this, no need for that, 'cause we'd find our bliss in the passing on to every boy and girl our family's legacy. In a perfect world, now some will say, boy, you'll never see. And they'll say, you're living in a dream. That's what singers do. I say, come let this music move. In a perfect world. In a perfect world.
Please join me for a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. In the introduction to his book, Conflagration, John A. Burens includes this about the Transcendentalist Unitarian minister Theodore Parker. He coined phrases now associated with others who echoed them: government of the people, by the people, and for the people, adapted by Lincoln from Parker. Or, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice, taken up by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Many considered Parker an infidel. Parker found an absolute religion at the core of all faith traditions, asking only that we love God, or the ground of our shared existence, and our neighbors as ourselves. For our time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer, I'll read 5 prayers Parker wrote. Unitarianism was a Christian denomination then. So notice how these prayers differ from today's expected content of Christian prayer. And you might apply your absolute religion filter to accept the words in your position of faith. Father and Mother of all, Eternal One, I bathe my soul in your infinity. Transcendent God, yet ever immanent in all that is, I flee to you and seek repose and soothing in my mother's breast. From all this dusty world, you will not lose a molecule of earth or spark of light. Father and mother of all things that are, I flee to you, and in your arms find rest. My God, I thank you for your love. Infinite Mother, Infinite Father. Infinite Mother, the parent of our bodies and souls, we know you always have us in your care and that you cradle the world beneath your eye. We would be conscious of your presence with us. Infinite Father, we thank you for this great human world added to this earth and air and sea. We thank you for the mighty capacities you have given us for thought and toil, for beauty and for duty. We thank you for this soul of ours, whereby we know you, our Father and our Mother, and have serene delight in your continual presence and your love. We thank you that when we wander from your ways, your love forsakes us not, but reaches out to bring the wanderer back home wiser and better. We thank you that we may live noble lives, that we may become whole. To join the human race. O God, may we join the human race in daring to live in the prophetic spirit, seeking inspiration like the seers and sages of this and other lands, judging the past as they, acting on the present like them, envisioning a new and nobler era of the Spirit. May our doctrines and forms fit the soul as the limbs fit the body, growing out of it, growing with it. May we have communities for the whole person, truth for the mind, good works for the hands, love for the heart, and for the soul, that aspiring after perfection, that unfaltering faith in life, which like lightning in the clouds shines brightest when elsewhere it is most dark. Thank you. Perpetual presence, always near to us. May the fire of our gratitude be kindled and our souls flame up towards you. We thank you for the world of matter under our feet, over our head, and about us on every side. We thank you for the bread we eat, for the garments we put on, for the houses which hold us, for the sleep which all night slides into our bones, bringing strength to the weary and health to the sick. We thank you for the vast gifts which you have bestowed upon us, for these bodies so wonderfully made, for the ever-questioning mind which hungers for truth and beauty, for the vision of you held by your children of every age and every land. We thank you for great philosophers and prophets and poets who have gathered justice and taught love, as well as for the billions of unremembered men and women who in their common callings were faithful to the light which shone upon them. And we rejoice in the heritage which their toil has won and bequeathed to us. O God, our Father and our Mother, may we know you as you are, for yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. The higher good. Dear God, I will not ask for wealth or fame, though once they would have joyed my carnal sense. I shudder not to bear a hated name, wanting all wealth, myself, my sole defense. But give me, God, eyes to behold the truth, a seeing sense that knows the eternal right. a heart with pity filled and gentlest truth, a robust faith that makes all darkness light. Give me power to labor for humankind. Make me the mouth of such as cannot speak. Eyes let me be to the groping and the blind, a conscience to the base and to the weak. Let me be hands and feet and to the foolish mind, and lead still farther on such as your kingdom seek. Let's observe 1 minute of silence. Amen.
Shall we sing together? Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
This reading is from Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. Unjust laws exist. Shall we be content to obey them, or shall we endeavor to amend them and obey them until we have succeeded, or shall we transgress at once? Men generally, under such a government as this, think that they ought to wait until they have persuaded the majority to alter them. They think that if they should resist, the needy would be worse than the evil. But it is the fault of the government itself that the remedy is worse than the evil. It makes it worse. Why is it not more apt to anticipate and provide for reform? Why does it not cherish its wise minority? Why does it cry and resist before it is hurt? Why does it not encourage its citizens to be on the alert, to point out its faults, and do better than it would have them? Why does it always crucify Christ and excommunicate Copernicus and Luther and pronounce Washington and Franklin rebels? One would think that a deliberate and practical denial of its authority was the only offense never contemplated by the government. lest, why has it not assigned its definite, its suitable, and proportionate penalty?
John Burens really likes the word conflagration. It's not just the title of his book on the Transcendentalists, but it appears throughout the text. If you look it up, you find that conflagration has two meanings: fire, especially a large, disastrous fire, and conflict or war. Burens's book starts with a fire conflagration. The steamboat Lexington burning in Long Island Sound in January 1840, when slave-picked cotton too near the smokestacks caught fire and 139 people died, including Unitarian and Transcendentalist minister Charles Follen, and only 4 survived. Another conflagration, very important at this time, was the Civil War, as many Transcendentalists were active in the abolitionist movement leading up to the conflagration, and some took up military service during the war. In my own usage, not that this is a common word in my speaking and writing, I expand the definition a bit to say that a conflagration can be a gathering or mixture of multiple elements contributing to chaos or confusion. It's good, in my opinion, that Burens's book, Conflagration: How the Transcendentalists Sparked the American Struggle for Racial, Gender, and Social Justice, from 2020, isn't chaotic or confusing. It's a narrative that focuses on people who were part of the 19th century Transcendentalist movement, primarily in the Boston area, with not much about the major figures, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, whom we normally read about when Transcendentalism is the topic. What Burens gives us is Transcendentalists, almost all of them Unitarians and many of them ministers, coming together to confront societal conflagration, slavery and racism, women's rights and contributions, changes presented by findings of science such as the theory of evolution. And in this book written by a minister who is a former president of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the evolving of the Unitarian Church, based in part on the Transcendentalists' expansion of religious tradition beyond central tenets of Christianity and into work to make social justice happen. I hope that I prepared you well enough in advance that you know this second entry in our roughly monthly series on Transcendentalism is a book report. Since I'll be talking about Transcendentalists and Transcendentalism several times this year, I thought I should highlight one book for you to have more of a background if you care to do some church-related research. And this, published by the Unitarian Universalist Association-owned Beacon Press, gets a bit more into the Unitarian aspect of Transcendentalism. Plus, I can't get into much detail in a book report that's the length of a short sermon. So this is more of a recommendation for reading it if you're inspired to learn more about the Transcendentalists, as I'm learning too. Make it an independent study. not just hearing me giving what I hope won't all be dry lectures. In this Sunday sermon series, we might learn a little bit more about not just Emerson and Thoreau, but thanks in part to Conflagration, Unitarians Elizabeth Palmer Peabody, Margaret Fuller, Julia Ward Howe, Lydia Marie Child, Theodore Parker, James Freeman Clark, Thomas Starr King, and Thomas Wentworth Higginson. We'll get connections to Frederick Douglass, John Brown, Lucy Stone, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Horace Mann, Charles Darwin, and other better known historical figures. And of course, Ralph Waldo Emerson is included, but not as we're accustomed to in the Transcendentalist topic at center stage. For histories of Transcendentalism along more traditional philosophical and historical lines, you might look to the 2007 book, American Transcendentalism, A History by Philip F. Guru, a Unitarian Universalist, or a book published last year, The Transcendentalists and Their World by Robert A. Gross. But today, it's the Transcendentalist Conflagration. The beginning of Buren's book, The Start of the Introduction, states, many of us first meet the Transcendentalists in literature classes in high school or college. This gives us the impression that we should think of them primarily as writers. We read some Emerson, a few poems and essays, probably including Self-Reliance. Thoreau's Walden about going to the woods to live more deliberately is now the most read American book written before the Civil War. We then come to see Transcendentalists as centered in rural concord, asserting their individualism against the demands of society. Perhaps it does not help that our meeting with them often comes in our own adolescence, when the drive to self-differentiation, individuation, and idealism is natural. History provides another perspective, focused less on their writings than on their lives and deeds. Many Transcendentalists and their followers were also fervent activists, sparking the intellectual, spiritual, moral, and political struggle in America for racial, gender, social, and environmental justice that continues to this day. They also were far more religious and urban than most people realize. And that ends the quote. That brings us to a characteristic of Unitarian Universalism today, doesn't it? Our liberal religious way of combining Sunday services open to seeking and accepting pluralism, alongside encouraging social justice involvement and advocacy. Transcendentalism isn't long ago, though that's the perception. And it's much more than self-realization and the awe of nature. That's why I decided to explore Transcendentalism this church year, so we can know more about these people and this approach to religion and the person. It's an important movement in Unitarian history, preceding humanism and opening our religious life beyond Christianity to world religions, to social justice work, and to self-examination. It's Unitarian Universalist history that we can know better. Buren's includes the essential history of how the Transcendentalist Club began, formed by 4 Unitarian ministers, George Ripley, Frederick Henry Hedge, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and George Putnam, with the first meeting presided over by another Unitarian minister, Converse Francis, the oldest there at age 40, and hosted by Ripley with 10 men in attendance. How the term came to be based on German idealism from Immanuel Kant, filtered to the U.S. transcendentalists by way of the English writers Samuel Taylor Coleridge and Thomas Carlyle, as well as by these ministers not being satisfied with what Burens calls the complacency of the Unitarian establishment of both the churches and of Harvard University. And how the term transcendental was probably first used in an essay from the US by Elizabeth Palmer Peabody. And he tells about Unitarian change from that time. That includes a failed movement to expand Unitarianism and have the National Conference of Unitarian and Independent Churches, which gets an oh so brief mention of Francis Ellingwood Abbott, who had been our congregation's minister from 1869 to 73, and as a condition of his call, had Unitarian dropped and the organization renamed as the Independent Society of Toledo. And also just a touch on the Free Religion Association with its journal, The Index, which Abbott edited and which began in Toledo. But Toledo is not mentioned at all in Conflagration. So we Toledo Unitarians are in the book if you know our history beyond that Ralph Waldo Emerson once spoke in our church. Yes, there's more, but this is a report, not the full story. Ask the library to get copies of Conflagration or order one from Gathering Volumes if you want to buy. You could also go to the UUA bookstore online. Join me in learning about transcendentalism beyond our Sunday services. Transcendentalists expanded the influence of their circle in many different ways through spiritual friendship, mentoring, public speaking, writing, and organizing, Burens wrote. He gives great attention to activist organizing, which is not well illustrated in the literary and philosophical transcendentalist histories. He calls the transcendentalists prophetic activists who went before us, loving nature, fighting racism, seeking equal rights regardless of gender or sexual differences, yearning for greater economic equity and equality of opportunity. Burens also gives insight into what he termed spiritual friendship, an ideal that stemmed from the conviction that only by helping others realize their moral, spiritual, and creative potential can one fulfill one's own, and that only through mutual concern can just communities begin to emerge. A connotation of conflagration is disaster. Burens shows a transformation of societal conflagration by way of transcendentalism. That's our history, thankfully. Soon we'll be awed not by the transcendentalists' deeds and work in the world, shown to us by author John Burens, but we'll turn to other sources and look at tradition, the awe of nature and self-knowledge that the transcendentalists also cultivated well. So be it. And now we invite Colette Cordova and Judy Pascalis to come speak to us briefly about stewardship. It's the beginning of our stewardship campaign. Here.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Colette Cordova, and I am the chair of the Stewardship Committee this year. And we are here to kick off the Stewardship Campaign, which will run through November 20th. The packets are mailed October 11th, so many of you may have received them by now, and we ask you to turn them in as soon as possible. The campaign for this year is for the year beginning July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. And now Judy, my co-chair, will go over our theme for this year. Judy?
Well, if you saw the wheel out there, you know that the theme is everybody wins. And the everybody in this is you. Whether you participate in coming to a service or a trunk or treat or Knitwits, I love that name, or whatever you do with the church, you win. Think about it. When you participate in something, you have a feeling of accomplishment or belonging. And that's not just a feeling, it is the truth of what's going on. Whenever you spin that roulette wheel, and it doesn't really spin out there, but wherever you land, whether it's one of the things I mentioned or something else, it means that you are a winner. We are hoping that the Everybody Wins theme will be something that you assess as how you participate in this church. And in this church of liberal religion, which is to vow to pledge as well as to participate in the activities of your choice. You are a winner with all the rest of us. So everybody wins. Fill out your card and send it in and participate.
And I just want to tell you that this, with the raffle out there, it's a 50-50 raffle. So you put your name on the card, put in $1, and you can put on any of your activities, like Judy said. And at the end of the campaign on November 20th, we'll pull out the winner and see who our winner is this year. Thank you.
Thanks. I need help.
Thank you.
The words for the offering today are by Kristen Collins. We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough. You can give electronically by going to our website, uutoledo.org. You will click on Give and then click on Online Giving. You can also mail a check to us at First Unitarian Church, 3205 Glendale Avenue, Toledo, 43614. And if you're here in person, there is a basket on the table out in the lobby that we would welcome your contributions and or pledge payments. And we are grateful for all your contributions.
So wait just a minute. Tell me what's this all about? I will hang for a little bit. I sure have my doubts. I hear what you're saying. This could be the day. Simply read the signs, my friend. You will see, they say, be the change you want to see in the world. Be the hope, be the miracle. Be the one who's brave enough to say you'll start. You gotta choose by keeping it real. And then act as if you know this all by heart. Be the change. Be the change. Now you say we're a family. Do you wanna know my name? If you really knew me well, I can play that game. You talk about your feelings as if it's not that hard. You say we've all built walls like friends. You let down your guard. You be the change you want to see in the world. Be the hope, be the miracle. Be the one who's brave enough to say you'll start. You gotta notice how it's making you feel. Simply choose by keeping it real. And then act as if you know this all by heart. That's your part. Be the change. And then I see across the line you've drawn. On your side of the sand, you ask me if I'll join you there as you hold out your hand. Be the change you want to see in the world. Be the hope, be the miracle. Be the one who's brave enough to say you'll start. You gotta notice how it's making you feel. Simply choose by keeping it real. And then act as if you know this all by heart. That's your part. Be the change. Be the change.
Be the change you want to see in the world. That makes a lot of sense. When I first saw that Carrie was going to sing this song, Be the Change, at offering time, in my silliness, I was wondering if he might change it to Be the Bills. But I want to thank Carrie Patrick Clark for performing for us today. Just so you know, he'll be back in November. And for our all music service on December 18th, look for a concert by Carrie Patrick Clark at 11 on Sunday. Now, let me tell you what's coming soon here at First Unitarian. Next Sunday, our spiritual forum at 9:45 will be discussion about an issue. Now, we haven't yet determined the issue. I don't know if there is any news going on in the world that we might want to talk about. That's kind of the concept. Then at our 11 a.m. service, it is Lights of the World, centered on Diwali, the Hindu festival of light, but it's not the only festival of light. So we will expand from there and speak about lights of the world.
And immediately after this service today, we invite you to join us in Fellowship Hall for coffee hour and social time. We'd be pleased to answer questions that visitors might have about our church, and we'll enjoy spending time with people who are new to us and familiar friends. And the closing words today are from Conflagration by John Burens. Today we are suffering through a recession in commitment to science, to human rights, and to global unity. Contemporary concerns for intersectionality and a more unitary demand for justice may seem new. They are not. We can find them in our transcendentalist forebears, and when we return to these sources, we may find a deeper meaning.
And as we send the flame of our chalice into the community, may we do so in a transcendentalist spirit, in awe of nature and trying to make the world better through social justice efforts. Wonder at the fire and let its symbolism spread.
I'm gonna write a song about tomorrow, providing tomorrow's still here. It's a highway of hatred and anger, weaves through the fog of my fears, and I believe the sun is still shining somewhere above all these clouds, where worry gives way to the wisdom. Time to start loving is now, and I choose love. I choose this time to believe in the faith that a greater love can be mine. I choose peace to heal this world. I believe and agree that my heartbeat can be one with yours. Choose that we all find forgiveness as the one common view we can share. Choose that we all want to live this life as one family in prayer. I choose love. I choose this time to believe in the faith that a greater love can be mine. And I choose peace to heal this world. I believe, I agree that my heartbeat can be one with yours.